Hello there, it's Gordon Bryan here with the Great Gordino newsletter, week commencing Monday, October 13th, 2014. And this week's issue is I'm summarising as prizes, election prize, Nobel Prize and a prize numpty. So, the political landscape in Britain took another shift this week. There were two by-elections, and in one of them UKIP got their first MP elected, and in the other they came second, only 600 votes behind Labour, in what should have been a safe Labour seat. Now you might think that having just one MP is not much of a game changer, but it really could be. Having stood in the last two elections myself, I heard over and over again that people said voting was a waste of time and that it made no difference. Well, many of those people might now be thinking that voting for UKIP might not be a waste of time, that protest votes could actually make a difference. There's an opinion poll held after those by-elections and it put UKIP at 25% of the vote. Now that could see them in a general election with over 100 MPs, and that is staggering for a party which had no MPs at the last election and has just got their first MP. To think that in an election in the middle of next year could give them 100 MPs, that is staggering. And the reason behind this surge? Immigration. It used to be that if you mentioned a view that immigration was causing problems here in Britain as a drag on resources, you'd be labelled a racist. But now it's fair game to discuss the issue in political circles. David Cameron, the Prime Minister, is trying to bring it as far to the front of the agenda as he dare, but that's not fast enough for UKIP, and it's not fast enough for many voters. UKIP say they would take Britain out of the EU, and while Cameron has promised a referendum in 2017 if the Conservatives win a majority, that kind of political promise holds no weight at all with the kind of wavering voter that would think about voting for UKIP. Labour's view on immigration? Well, unfortunate as it was, Ed Miliband completely forgot that part of his major conference speech, and that hardly makes him look as if he has anywhere near the top of his priorities. I find the whole thing fascinating. I do find politics fascinating, especially since I've stood twice, and having decided that I wouldn't stand a third time, the Scottish referendum and the high turnout that brought, and this latest twist in England, does make me wonder if voters might be more accepting of my own platform this time around. Okay, Nobel Peace Prize, Malala Yousafzai, the youngest ever winner at 17, has been jointly awarded the Nobel Peace Prize this year. Malala was shot in the head 2 years ago by the Taliban after spending a few years campaigning for girls' education. A story of her shooting and her recovery raised her profile to global status, and the way she has spoken since to world leaders and the UN has been inspirational to many. She was awarded the prize jointly with another campaigner, Kailash Satyarthi. Now he's Indian, Malala is Pakistani, and that's no coincidence from the Nobel Committee. The division of India and Pakistan was done by a British civil servant in London with a map and a pencil, and it's created tension ever since. Satyarthi is a Hindu, Yousafzai is a Muslim, so there's another show of unity between different backgrounds, again quite deliberate by the Nobel Committee. In a speech she made on the day of her award, Malala spoke of these differences between the two of them, but also spoke of the things they were both campaigning for at the same time. She asked, as did Satyarthi, that when they were both presented with their awards, the leaders of both Pakistan and India would both be present, to show a united front for their push for peace and understanding. And she also thanked her father for not clipping her wings. Inspirational, in my view. And let's finish with a bit of sport, which you're probably expecting if you're a long-time follower of mine. Now, last week I spoke about a rugby punch which went unpunished because the player that was hit was deemed to have not been hurt enough. Now that was in rugby union, but in rugby league this week there was a punch which certainly will be punished. In rugby league's grand final, Lance Hahaye started the final by smashing his forearm into the face of his opponent Ben Flower. Now that was a foul and brought him a one-match ban, and it also brought a retaliatory punch from Flower. Now that kind of thing happens a lot in rugby, and a bit of fisticuffs, normally at that level, is generally called handbags at 5 paces. This time, however, the retaliatory punch from Flower saw her hire go down like a sack of spuds. Now, instead of leaving it there, Flower then held down his opponent and punched him face in the head. Full face in the head. And he was sent off, no surprise there, and he's going to get a lengthy ban from the game. And he's already had his ban, which I think was 12 games, 6-month ban. Had the punch, well, it was an attack really, had that attack happened in a pub car park, he might be looking at jail time. And it brings up the old debate about whether the police should be involved after incidents like this. Now, the sport has dealt with it quickly. He apologised. It's been accepted by his opponent and the opponent's team. And it may well be left at that. But if there are enough public complaints to the police about the incident, I think they have to get involved. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And punches like that show why I prefer to watch sports like rugby, but enjoy playing a much politer sport, curling. And I had my first game of the season last week, and I've had my second game this week. First game was a loss, second game was a win, which about sums up my curling career. But I did have some new trousers, which I'm going to get some pictures of and put up on the blog. And that's it for this week. Don't forget to leave your feedback and pop over and visit the blog, thegreatgordino.com. The link is in the description below, and you'll see all my other posts, my regular NFL Moment of the Week posts, my ELO Cover of the Day posts, and all my articles about goal achievement and self-improvement. And thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think, leave a comment below or at the blog, and I'll see you next week.